Dice Tower Tonight, episode 89.
Beep, boop.
Welcome to Dice Tower Tonight, a videocast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them. On tonight's show, we're programmed to discuss games with robots, mechs, droids, and AIs. Will we pass the Turing test? Also, Crystal has a game for me and the chat to play. We run through some titles we've played lately, and we answer questions from the audience live. I'm Eric Summerer, and joining me now, the DO to my BB-8, it's Crystal Dax.
Hello, Eric. How are you this evening?
I'm doing well. How are you, Crystal?
I'm pretty good, actually. You know, it's Wednesday night. We're doing Dice Tower tonight. We're talking about games with robots, which is a really fun theme.
It is. And we were actually surprised. You brought this up in our discussion. What are we going to talk about? Which happens every couple of weeks. And you suggested games with robots. And I was like, what? You know what? There's a lot there. There's a lot of games that have robots in some fashion. And so I think this is going to be an interesting discussion.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to hearing from the chat later what games they really love that have robots in them.
Indeed. But before we get to all of that, we should probably talk about what we've been playing lately. Would you like to go first?
Absolutely. That sounds wonderful. So I recently acquired a copy of a game that I had only played once before. In the before times, back when, board game cafes were a thing that I could frequent, I went to Mapleville here in Las Vegas, my favorite board game cafe owned by Tim Mativier, who is doing some awesome stuff. If you all are not following Mapleville on YouTube or Twitch, should definitely do that. But I learned a game at Mapleville that I now own a copy of, and that is Shipshape.
Yes.
This is a game. Do you see the designer, y'all? It's Rob Davio. And this game doesn't get talked about, and I don't know why, because it's so much fun. So, also the box art is great. I just have to say, all of the facial expressions on this box, I know there's glare, so it's kind of hard to see.
It's a very shiny box.
It's a very shiny box.
Yeah.
So Shipshape is a game in which you go on voyages and you put cargo into the holds of your ship, which sounds pretty innocuous and generic. Your holds look something like this. They are just a little kind of a thick cardstock board that go in front of you, and the holds have 9 compartments in them. During the course of the game, you will be using cards to bid on the order in which you will take holds from the main supply. The main supply is made up of these foam core tiles that have holes in them. So each piece only has a number of the 9 compartments filled. I think it's 3 on all of them. I believe it's 3 out of the 9 on all of them in completely different configurations. And what's really, really neat about this game is you're bidding with your cards, and the highest card that gets played gets to take the top hold off of the stack. But when you look down into the stack, you can't see everything. And this is sitting flat on the table. And it specifies in the rule book that while you are allowed to stand from your seat to look down into the stack of tiles, you cannot adjust your orientation around the table. So it is entirely possible that what I can see in the stack is different than what you can see. And you know where you want to fill the compartments in your hold because there are sometimes rats that are worth negative points. And there's also a bonus for filling your entire hold, all of the compartments, and rats do not count toward that. So you're obviously going to be looking for tiles that kind of complement one another. You get different scoring based on the icons that are on these. There's the gold, there's cannons, and there's contraband. Contraband is fun because it's one of those mechanisms where you get points for your contraband, unless you have the most contraband, and then you get nothing. So I like those mechanisms that push you to want to take a lot of a thing, and then all of a sudden you get nothing for it. It is incredibly straightforward. You play through 3 rounds, 3 voyages. Filling up a different hold each time with the tiles stacked. And when you look down in here, you score based on what is visible. So if you cover something up, it no longer will score or cause you negative points, depending on what it is. And then the player with the most points at the end of the game wins. It is super fun, really accessible. It is one of those games that you could easily teach to a non-gamer, but has enough depth for like hobby gamers as well. I'm really happy that I have a copy of it now. It's super fun, and I want to say it's relatively cheap to pick up as well. I got this as a gift for either my birthday or Christmas back in December. But yeah, and the box is really nice as well. Like all of the components fit super like snugly in here. There's a nice little plastic insert. The cards slot between other things like really well.
Yeah.
And that, that stuff is little, but it makes a difference. Like I appreciate when the box is just as thoughtfully designed as the rest of it. So Shipshape is a huge win for me. I really like this one. It's a great little, it's not filler, it's just beyond filler, I would say. Like, it really doesn't take that long to play, but it's super, super fun.
I like the way the bidding works in this as well. If there's a tie, like if you and I both play an 8, then we basically get skipped.
Yep.
And so the next person in line will then be first place. So if you and I play an 8 and someone else plays a 3, suddenly 3 is first place, and they might not have wanted that top
they
tile.
Probably they played a 3.
If they played a 3, they probably wanted something farther down, and then you and I think need to rebid.
Yes, we rebid, and that makes it even more interesting because you have a set of cards that I think ranges from 1 to 9, and you don't get to pick any of those cards back up until you only have 1 remaining in your hand, or maybe none remaining in your hand. So if people are savvy, they can pay attention to what cards people have and kind of use that to their advantage. And yeah, sometimes the ties benefit you because then you can pick up your hand more quickly. So there's a lot of interesting nuance.
Yes,
so.
It is an excellent game. Shipshape is very, very cool.
Shipshape, Rob Davio, I recommend it highly.
Gator Dave, no, Crystal's duck, or her goose, is not smoking a cigar. That's the bell that the
it has a bell.
Yeah,
it's magnetic, and it has a bell in its mouth.
So, Crystal, I have a double review that I'm excited to talk about with you, because knowing how much you enjoy this franchise, we're going to talk about Star Trek Flux.
Woohoo!
These are the 2 most recent boxes for Deep Space Nine and Voyager. This is the 4th Star Trek Flux product. Originally, there were these 2, the original series and the Next Generation. These 2 came out at the same time. In fact, there was a mini expansion, the Bridge expansion, that you could bridge the 2. It had goals and stuff that could connect the 2 so you could play them together. And in fact, these 2 are mixed. I have to figure out how to separate them at some point because I was playing them as one giant game. They don't recommend that you do that with all 4 of these. In fact,
that would be a lot.
the Looney Labs representative said that there's thematic reasons for that. Like Next Gen and original series are similar styles of shows, one ship traveling around and doing things. They're like DS9 and Voyager are different types of shows. Like, okay, sure. Also, it would be way too many cards. But if you tried to mix them, it is possible. The way they differentiate them is the font on the top of the cards. So there's an original series and a next gen font, and then you've got sort of there's another Star Trek-y font for the DS9. I'll get to those in a second. And then the Voyager one has a different font as well. So you could sort them all. Quick backup, Flux is a card game, they sort of a set collection game with ever-changing rules. You start out the game with a simple rule of draw 1, play 1. This just starts out on the table at the very beginning. You will draw 1 card, play 1 card. At the beginning of the game, you have no way to win the game. One of the cards that can be played is a goal card, which gives you some sort of combination of keeper cards, these green cards, that will win the game for someone. So the game is all about changing the rules of how many cards you draw, how many you discard, or how many you play on a turn. Changing the goals and placing these keepers out in front of you, and avoiding the creepers, the dreaded bad cards that make it impossible for you to win. So that's basic Flux. The Star Trek version of Flux does something cool with the keepers. In fact, we showed Garrick from let's move on to DS9. Garrick says, during your turn, you may exchange this with any visitor or other personnel keeper. So the keepers come in little categories. There's crew, and there's Starfleet officers, and there's other characters. And so Garrick can trade with another one that's on the table, which is kind of cool. The Hollow Suite, you can win with a keeper that somebody else has on the table, as if you owned it. So if a goal says, win with these two, and you have one of the two, and somebody else has it on the table, you win with the Hollow Suite. Miles O'Brien. So I talked about those creepers. There's one creeper that attaches to equipment. It's a malfunction card. And suddenly that piece of equipment no longer works. Its special power doesn't work anymore. Miles can fix that. He can get rid of a malfunction card. Cisco, the captain, can steal a Starfleet officer. He can reassign them. I just wanted to pull out the Jadzia illustration just because I thought you would enjoy that.
Yes, I love it.
I really like the art style. It's sort of a polygon. I don't know what you call this exactly. It's an interesting block shading. Maybe block shading is how you'd call this. The Esri Dax, I think, is a promo card, which I don't have.
Okay.
But Jadzia is in the base set. Morn. So here's
Show
Morn.
Me. Oh!
Morn has a special rule. You cannot speak during your turn if you have this in play. If you fail, you must move this to another player.
I mean, that is so perfect.
There are action cards that you play and it does something and you discard it. Beam Us Back is the action. Return all Starfleet officers and visitors to the hands of their owners unless someone has a functioning transporter in play. In that case, that player takes all the cards and adds them to their hand.
Oh, wow.
There's also Dabo. Draw 3 extra cards, but if you have gold-pressed Latinum, which is one of the keepers, you get to draw another 3 cards. There's also a meta rule that starts out at the beginning, 5-card mission. If you discard goal cards all at once, you can draw 5 cards. So I like the Star Trek versions because those characters, those keepers, and those pieces of equipment give you more chances to do stuff. And in Flux, you want to maximize the amount of stuff you can do. You want to be able to shuffle the goals. You want to be able to play more cards. You want to be able to manipulate the game situation so that you can eventually reach a victory condition. Flux can get painful when you're down to draw 1, hand limit of 2. You're just so constricted, you can't get anything going, and then the game can drag. So the more opportunity you have to trade and adjust and move and cause stuff to happen, the better. So moving on to that was the DS9. The Voyager set. This is the most recent one. The other special stuff they've got in here, there's Janeway, of course. And she has the same ability of you can take a crew member. There's only Starfleet crew members. There's no additional visitors in this set. But there's also a Janeway from the future.
Oh.
And she acts as Janeway if Janeway's not on the table. Holographic doctor. You have to say, please state the nature of the medical emergency when you put this card into play.
At least you don't have to sing opera. I mean,
Ancestors Eve. So the issue with the Voyager set is I didn't watch the entire series of Voyager. I saw, I think, maybe the first 3 seasons, and so anything that happened after that point, I was in college. I got busy. and I sort of lost track of it. So some of this stuff I don't know. I don't get these references. So Ancestors Eve, I guess, is something that happened. Once during your turn, if you mention the name of one of your own actual family members born before you, whom you've not yet named this game, draw one extra card. Also, there are a pair of time ships, which I guess is something that showed up in later seasons, that during your turn, you may insert this card into the middle of the draw pile and take an extra turn. And
I'm gonna, and just for the sake of I know that this is an old TV show, but for the sake of spoilers, I'm not gonna elaborate on anything. But Halo in the chat makes a good point. There has to be a coffee card in there that goes with Janeway, right? Like, is there coffee in this deck? You don't have to search. There has to be coffee. If there's no coffee.
Now I want to know. I mean.
Yeah, I mean.
So, hang on.
I have a shirt. I should have, oh man, if I had known, I should have worn, I have a shirt that has the line from Janeway that says there's coffee in that nebula. And when I met Kate Mulgrew, there it is, the coffee. Yeah, when I met Kate Mulgrew, I was wearing that shirt, and she was like, oh my God, I love your shirt so much. And of course, like, I'm sure she says that to everybody. There's coffee in that nebula. There it is.
So, yes, the references are there. So, which of these should you get? I actually highly recommend these sets for Flux fans, or even if you're looking to dabble in Flux, or dabo in Flux. You could.
She's the only person who would laugh at that joke.
So as I've already said, I like these sets of Flux. So there's two approaches to this. You get the one that is the series you enjoy. Or if you're a Star Trek fan, you're probably going to get them all anyway because you like all of the Star Treks. Like, now that I have 4, if there's an Enterprise one, I'm probably going to want the Enterprise one. If there's a Discovery one, I'm really going to want it.
I mean, a Lower Decks one would be awesome.
So, this is probably my favorite Flux franchise. If this is probably the one that I would play, or one of the parody styles, Star Flux, or the Monty Python Flux, something like that. Yeah,
Monty Python is the one that I used to own, might still own, not sure.
But of these two, since this is technically a review of these two sets, I would prefer the DS9 set. I think it's a little more robust. This one I just don't get the references on, but I think that's really the key. If you didn't watch DS9, then Voyager is the better product for you. I do recommend this as a Flux variant, though. It's really slick that way.
I mean, I've found that some hobby gamers tend to not enjoy games like Flux or Munchkin, but for me, those games personally, those games shine best when they have a theme as part of them that you are already invested in and love. The version of Munchkin that I have enjoyed the most in the past is the Adventure Time one, because the references are so good. And you can tell that when they make these games, they're not just like Googling Star Trek and throwing random references in. Like, they know this stuff.
Oh, this is definitely, yeah, I think Andrew Looney definitely knows what he's doing when it comes to Star Trek. Yes.
Yeah. So I like the care that they take when they put these themes into the games, because, like, that's the thing. When you're showing me those cards and reading me the flavor, or the goals and things like that, I'm smiling because it fits and it makes sense. And that's what I want from a game where you've got a unique theme like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am still, despite the warnings, I'm tempted. I'm tempted to do the full. It would take forever, though.
Yeah.
The key is that the goals would no longer, that you dilute the goals, and without a bridge expansion for the other sets, it's dangerous.
I mean, this would take work, but you could theoretically maybe cut all of them in half. You'd have to make sure that you had the right cards, like from each half.
Yes.
Which, again, would take time,
yes.
But at least then the deck wouldn't be quite so huge.
Very true.
Awesome. Well, that's what you and I have been playing recently. How about we play a game with the chat, Eric?
I'm excited. I want to know what we're doing.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to bring back one that I think we've played once before, and that is Blank Slate. Blank Slate is a party game from the Op, where usually there are cards that come in a box. I do not own a copy of Blank Slate currently, so I have kind of made my own stuff, so to speak. And I'll actually draw up an example for everybody. So for instance, you're always going to have a single word with a blank next to it. Sometimes the blank will come before the word, and sometimes it will come after the word. And your job is to fill in the blank. It can be a continuation of the word or a separate word, making a two-word phrase. So for instance, if I held this one up, this is not part of the real game, this is just an example, red blank, everyone, including the chat, would then fill in the blank with whatever word or part of a word that they wanted. Your goal is to match only one other player in the answer that you write down. If you match one other player, you get 3 points. If you match more than one other player, you get 1 point. Although I'm going to say, we're going to modify that a little bit since we have a lot of people in the chat right now. I'm going to say if you match 2 or fewer people, well, 2 or 1 people, you get the 3 points. Okay. So chat, you all have to keep track of your own scores. But see, Halo did a great, yeah, we've got a couple answers in the chat for this one. So yes, rum, fox, planet. You've got a lot of different options here. And you want to come up with something that you think only a couple other people will, and you guys have to keep track of your own scores. I can't score everybody. So I will attempt to keep track of Eric and I's scores.
So, I may have missed, is it a single word or can it be more than one word?
It's a single word or a part of a word. So in theory, you can actually continue the word that's on the card if, in fact, like, let's see. Oh, like, for instance.
Well, if you had said neck.
Yes. Or, yeah, necklace if you wanted. Necklace. Okay. Or like babysitter. Like, you could do that. So it can turn into a single word, but if you are making a phrase, it has to be
but you couldn't say it's cold outside.
Correct.
Gotcha.
No long phrases. All right, so I have a number of prompts all ready to go, and then I have my own little... I'm going to be playing along too, because even though I wrote the prompts, that doesn't actually change the scoring at all, so this is nice.
Gator Dave just said red bowcaster, which is a running gag at this point for Dice Tower tonight. I think...
Oh my gosh, we're never going to live down the bowcaster. That's so funny.
Okay. So
all right.
So if we're both answering, I should write down my own answers on something.
Oh yeah, I should have told you to maybe. I mean, it's not. You can just say yours out loud as well. You don't have to write something down.
I can figure it out. I need proof.
And we can't look at the chat while we're answering, or until we've written our answer down, because we don't want to cheat.
Yes.
All right. So I will hold up the first prompt. And no, there's no rush, chat. You're not competing against one another to get things in quickly. But obviously, try not to look at the other answers people are putting in, because then, then that's a little cheaty. But so face blank. Face blank.
I am locked in.
I am also locked in. We will give it just a little bit of time for people to put their answers into the chat.
The chat?
There's one answer in the chat that I'm a little confused about.
I guess if I'm locked in, I can look. I would
yeah, you can look once you're locked in. So, and everybody's going to have a great time skimming through the answers to see if they only matched 1 or 2 people, but y'all will have fun with that. I'm going to make this a little larger. All right. So, Eric, what did you say?
I said face plant.
Okay. And I said face off.
That was my first thought. But it looks like a lot more people in the chat said off.
Yes, I see 2. Okay, I do see 3 plants. So you and I each get 1 point.
Oh, there's a third plant.
Yep. Chat, if you all keep track of your own score, if you matched one or two other people, including Eric and I, then you get 3 points. Otherwise, you get 1 point. So, all right. Next prompt. Prompt number 2.
All right.
Big blank. Big blank.
All right, I'm locked in.
I am also locked in. Aw, thanks, Kabuki Kid.
Yeah, if nobody says your answer, you get 0.
You
Is
don't
that how
get
that works?
points.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where it gets interesting because you don't want to say something completely off the wall because then you won't score. I think I might get 3 points. Well, we're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to see. Your face right now.
I'm watching. I saw one go by.
Okay.
Fingers are crossed.
All right. We're gonna go now. So Eric, I'll show you mine first. I said spender.
Ooh. I said deal.
Okay. So I'm seeing 2 spender. No, there's 3 spenders. I only get 1 point. What about you?
I think I only saw 1.
Awesome. So that's 3 points for you.
It is. I'm just making sure that the last minute one didn't come in. But yeah, I think I get
Nice.
3 points.
If it is more than 2, then it's just 1 point, Halo. If it's 2 or 1, you get 3 points, and if you match nobody, then you'd get no points. All right.
Big
Next
Spender
prompt.
is Sweet Charity, isn't it?
It is Miss Saigon, I believe.
Hey, Big Spend. It's not Miss Saigon.
No? Is
No.
it Sweet Charity?
I think it's Sweet Charity.
Wait, I think it might be in both.
Well,
I think it was originally in Sweet Charity, and then they used it in Miss Saigon as well.
It's possible that they used a segment from it, but it's originally from a much older show than
Yeah,
Saigon.
yeah. I think it's in both shows, but you're right. I think it originated in Sweet Charity.
Yeah. I was in that show a long time ago, and
I saw Miss Saigon on a stage before I saw Sweet Charity, so that might be why my brain went there first. But now somebody in the chat Google that for us and find out if that song is in both those musicals, because it's going to bother me if I don't know. All right, our next prompt is blank roll. Guys and Dolls.
it's not Guys and Dolls.
Not Guys and Dolls. I was in Guys and Dolls. I know Guys and Dolls. Blank roll.
Oh boy. Both of the things I'm thinking I know people are going to choose.
I know, that's what's interesting, right?
All right, I'm locked in. I took a risk that may
I'm
not
still
pay
debating.
off.
I'm not looking at the chat. I've got an idea. We'll see. We'll see if this works out.
Oh, that
I don't
is a
think
good one.
anybody's going to say this, but
Joe
maybe
says
I'll
it
get
was
lucky.
Sweet Charity.
Okay, but is it also in Miss Saigon? Someone tell me. Wait, everybody's saying Tootsie. Oh, for the role.
Tootsie Roll.
I thought they were
It was
talking about
not.
Tootsie in the movie. Dustin Hoffman.
Oh, that's good. These are very good ones. I don't think I'm going to get any points here.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and reveal our answers, Eric. I said money.
That's a good one. I said hamster, like the
Oh.
classic dexterity game Hamster Roll.
Okay.
But I don't think anybody was thinking along those lines.
Oof, there's a bankroll and a payroll, but no money roll. So
Yep.
I do not get any points. Did anybody say hamster, Eric?
Nobody said hamster. 0 points for me as well.
No mention of Miss Saigon? On the Big Spender Wikipedia. There's a Wikipedia about Big Spender?
Sure.
I swear it's in my brain.
I mean,
don't know.
it's entirely possible they say "Hey, Big Spender."
No, like the song though. I know the song.
I don't think they sing the song. They might sing a line from it.
My poor brain at this point. All right, y'all. Let's move to the next prompt. It is power blank. power blank.
Locked in. Jerry says, I just need to go for the obvious one and get 1 point.
Okay, while people are answering, I'm going to look at them. Okay.
Oh, good one, Kabuki. That is a good one. Yep. I knew those were going to show up. Come on, somebody say the one I said.
Why do I think this is in this show? It's going to drive me crazy.
Peter, that's 2 words. Oh, no.
Wait, has nobody said the thing that I said? Are you kidding me? All right, well, what did you put, Eric?
So I was hoping for a fan of American Ninja Warrior, and I put Power Tower.
Oh, okay.
But nobody has said tower, so
I said power steering.
Nice. Nobody said that.
Yeah, like, come on. That seems like a really good one to, like, just match with a couple people and nothing.
There was a lot of Power Grid. There was a lot of Power Rangers. Yep, Power Window. Oh, well.
Joe, no.
No.
No. Maybe it's a Fosse thing. Oh, yeah, like a biography? Maybe. I don't know. All right. Next is blank box. Blank box.
Locked in. There's a lot of options for this one.
Yeah.
I just need one person, 1 or 2 of you, to say, oh, that's a good one.
And I do have to give a shout out to the Board Game Blitz Discord because they helped me come up with these prompts when I was like, oh, I need prompts. So, are you kidding me? Nobody has said my thing yet. Okay, wait. No. Somebody said it. I missed that. Okay.
Oh,
I'm going to at least get a point.
Nope, nobody's going to say my thing.
Miss Saigon has a lot of songs, but not I'm really good with musicals, too, so I'm, like, weirdly disappointed in myself.
Oh, boy.
All right. This time, Eric, I put cardboard.
Oh, I saw several of those go by.
Well, I only saw 2. Are there more?
Well, okay. I wasn't counting.
Oh, dang it, there are 3!
Hey, you're at least going to get 1 because I said Tinder.
Oh.
Tinderbox. And I hoped somebody would say that, but they didn't. So 0 for me on that one there.
All right. So currently, Eric, you have 4 points and I have 3 points.
Okay.
I'm sure there are people in the chat who are beating us right now, but hopefully they're keeping track of their own. We have 2 more to go. All right. So this one is oil blank. Oil blank.
Oh, this is going to be tricky.
All right, I'm locked in.
I'm hemming and hawing. Urgh. All right, I locked in, and I avoided the simple one. I should just go for the 1 point.
I mean, but that's no fun.
Oh, all right. Actually, I just saw 1 go by with my answer.
Oh, all right. Okay. Well, what do you have, Eric?
I said oil barrel.
Okay. I think, there was one right near the top.
Yep,
David
I
Breel.
saw barrel go by. There's still a lot of clicking, so I'm...
Yeah, I said oil lamp.
Ooh,
which
I haven't seen that.
I only see Bailey said lamp.
There you go. Lots of
Does that
oil
give points for both of
spills.
us?
I think so.
Woohoo!
That means that between the two of us, nothing changed.
Right, but hey, maybe we're beating somebody in the chat now. So you have 7 to my 6 as we head into the very last round.
Oil cupcake?
Blank ball. Blank ball.
Locked in.
There's a lot of options.
There are a lot of options, and I'm hoping one person, maybe two, goes this way.
We will... Ben says, I'm consoling myself that I am a unique thinker.
Yes.
If I match nobody in the chat, I'm going to be upset. For the record. I'm just stating that now.
Very nice.
Some good options coming in.
Oh, that's a good one, Peter. I like that one.
Oh, that is a good one.
Oh, all right. I have one. Come on. Nobody else. No one else say this.
All right. It looks like it is slowed down, Eric. So, Eric, I'm going to hold off on mine for a second. What did you say?
This is sort of like waiting when you're doing microwave popcorn. You're supposed to wait for the pops to go. Like, this is sort of like that. I said dragon.
Oh, okay.
And I see only one other dragon on the list right now.
Yeah. I see only one dragon as well. And I am officially fighting with the chat, Eric.
Oh, no.
I'm mad because not a single person said crystal ball. Just kidding me? Nobody? Not a single one. Y'all, it's my name. Come on.
You know what? I'm also disappointed.
I'm just saying. Like,
I mean, I didn't say it because I thought everyone was going to say it. Really, it's
yeah. All right. Well, I did not get any points. You got 3.
I did.
So that brings your total to 10, Eric.
Yeah.
I want to hear chat. Chat. Who had more than 10 points? Kabuki Kid got 12. Eric Nozel got 11. So, Eric, you were the winner between the two of us. And we had a few people in the chat who bested us both.
Indeed.
I'm mad at you, chat.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to redeem yourself
everybody's
next
kicking
episode.
themselves. Ben says, we left that one for you, is what they said.
Yeah. A likely story.
Oh, I like Lucille. That's a good one.
Oh, that is a good one. Someone dropped the ball. All right. Well, that was a fun game, Eric. Why don't we move on to our discussion topic for the evening? Games with robots or other robot-related things.
Yes.
The stuff.
I don't even know how we want to approach this. There are lots of games with robots. Do we want to just rapid fire? Do we want to take turns? Do you have them clustered into any sort of groupings or topics?
I did not group anything specifically. I kind of just tried to pull some games that feel really different, but that use robots or the robot theme in interesting and different ways.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
For instance, one of the games that I pulled off my shelf that I really love that technically has a robot theme is Sentient from Renegade. Sentient has you actually programming robots using dice allocation or your dice manipulation. You're placing cards down and the cards change the values of the dice that are above them on your board, and it's also a little bit of area control. It's a fascinating game that not enough people talk about nowadays, and I really love it.
It's interesting that you bring up programming because a lot of the robot games that I pulled off the shelf are also programming games. This seems to be a common theme. The classic, of course, is Robo Rally. As you're moving around the maze and shooting each other and programming your action phases. And this is probably my favorite, I guess, of the ones I pulled. This would be the highest on my rankings, and a classic. There's also Tiny Epic Mechs, where you are sort of racing to, I think you have originally a pilot, and then you get to the mechs and give them weapons and stuff. But you're also programming in this game your actions for the turn. Quirky Circuits is a programming game.
Which you and I played a bunch of the scenarios together at Gen Con in 2019.
When it came out, because we just immediately had to play this as quickly as we possibly could. It is adorable, by the way, if you want an adorable robot game. And another one, Volt, is also a programming robot game. Uses a different system, dice allocation, to do the programming. And a few people in the chat have mentioned Mechs versus Minions, which is also a mechs game, and also a programming game. So it seems to be a common theme for robot games to have to program your actions.
There's actually a game that most of the people in the chat probably won't be aware of, because it's a Japanese game. It's called Desktop Hibokon Battle Kit, and it is also a robot. It is a polyomino robot programmed movement game. And some of the components are actual little like nuts and bolts, like metal nuts and bolts. And you build out this thing with the polyominoes, and then you have to battle the other robots and be the last one standing. And that all sounds really intricate, but it only takes like 15 to 20 minutes to play. It's super fast, and I love it. It's so neat.
So moving out of the programming games, this one, I don't know if you've ever played this.
I haven't.
This is Jeff Engelstein's and Brian Engelstein's first published game, the Ares Project. Each player has a faction, and one of the factions you can play is a giant robot. In fact, they've got it on the very back of the box here. You can play the giant robot, and you attach cards to different sections of the robot, powering up his shoulder or arm weapons and leg weapons and stuff to allow that character to attack the other factions. The other factions work totally different. There's, a bug hive, and there's, straightforward human space marines and stuff like that. But there's a giant mech that you can power up with rocket launchers and stuff, which is different from the other ones that we've talked about.
Joe in the chat makes a really good point in that Battlestar Galactica is a robot game. And it is. It definitely is. In fact,
absolutely is.
I think I tend to like games with robots partially because they often marry with space-themed games. You do tend to see those two things put together in a couple of different ways. And if we're talking about space-themed games with robot-like creatures in them, I have to bring up the Borg expansion for Star Trek Ascendancy, because... And so the reason I bring this up is not just because I really like Star Trek and I like Star Trek Ascendancy, but I actually think that robots as a theme would make for some really, strong enemies or adversaries in board games, and I don't think that gets used that often. When you see robots in games, I think more often than not they're either innocuous or friendly or neutral, and I think that there's some real opportunity there for a really scary enemy. We go through all of the, hey, there you go, we got the Borg cube.
You can't win if you have the Borg cube, if you've been assimilated. If you have this and Enterprise, you can discard both. Oh yeah, the Enterprise can destroy the Borg cube. But I think a character can get assimilated with one of these creepers.
Okay.
And then you have
it's probably Picard?
There is a Locutus goal as well. If you have the Borg and Picard, then you can still win.
Okay, that's pretty cool. But yeah, I think robots as an adversary is a really interesting facet of board games that has not been explored that much. Obviously Battlestar Galactica and Star Trek kind of already do that a little bit, but the Borg aren't really robots. They're, hybrids between humans and mechs. There are also some games with some really cute themes that have robots in them. One of my absolute favorites in that regard is Steam Park from Yellow Games. This is a game where you are building a theme park for robots.
Yep.
And every round, the robots go on the rides and then spit oil out because that's what robots do, and you have to clean it up. It's just like this game is got beautiful artwork and the gameplay is really neat. It has a real-time mechanism in it. There's some spatial pieces like puzzling out where you're going to place stuff in your park. I really enjoy this one, and I have the Play Dirty expansion for it as well, which is also great.
There's a lot of games that have robots as like just sort of pieces. Like I pulled Risk 2210 off the shelf because all the pieces are these mechs. It doesn't necessarily feel like you're using robots, though. It's just what your armies look like in that game. Something that you said brought up something I was thinking of, and now I've totally lost it. So,
I mean, I could just repeat all of the things that I've already said.
Just need to completely repeat everything you've said. No, we were talking about villains. Oh, evil AIs.
Oh, yeah.
So, the Omega virus.
I should have pulled it off the shelf. I'm always hesitant to manipulate that box too much because I've literally had it for 20 years. But yes, the Omega virus is a really good example of a robot adversary. I mean, technically, it's a computer virus that is the adversary. It's not a robot. But since the virus has infected the ship, it kind of is. I don't know. I love it. I still desperately hope that Restoration is going to be able to make that one happen. I know for a fact that it's at or near the top of their list, and it's just a matter of whether they'll be able to make it happen or not. But
right, that's essentially what I have pulled off the shelf. I'm trying to
see if I put any on my list that we did not name.
Scythe is something that Kirk brought up. I think that's similar to my Risk 2210 example. The mechs are one of your armies. It's one of the things you can deploy onto the board. But I don't know if it necessarily feels like they are robots as opposed to just sort of some giant piece. You know, it's just a very powerful piece that can go out on the board.
Oh yeah, Halo X says Human Punishment is a social deduction game where people are humans or robots. I have played that one. Other people really enjoy it. I was not a fan.
Looking back in the chat. Black Angel? I haven't played Black Angel. I don't know if that would be...
I haven't played Black Angel either. I mean, if you wanted to go full dexterity game, you've got Rock'em Sock'em Robot.
You do, and I did see that get mentioned earlier. Ben mentioned the Nintendo Rob system, the robotic operating buddy.
Yes!
I mean, this is a total tangent. That was the most useless component. Have you ever actually tried to use Rob?
We had Rob growing up, yes. It's so horribly frustrating.
It was tedious. It was difficult. So what we did was we ditched the robot, and I made one of my younger siblings be Rob. Blue! Okay. All right, let go of blue. Red! Let go of red. So it became a cooperative game, and they were far more responsive than Rob. Having to start a gyroscope and then send the command to lift the gyroscope and move it over and drop it, and then like, oh my goodness, no.
I have to admit, I was enamored with Rob, but only, like, not in actually using him to play games, but just, like, this cool little thing that, like, existed.
He looked amazing.
I also had the trackpad that you had to literally, like, kill yourself to do the track and field game on the Nintendo with, because you're running and it just... Yeah.
So my story with the power pad is I figured out in the track and field game on the long jump, did you realize that you could jump off of the pad?
The mat, yeah.
So you'd run, jump off the pad, and then if you waited too long, you'd fail. But
right.
If you could like jump and then wait, slam your hands down on the pad so that you could actually land, and that's the only way you could get amazing scores.
Right.
on track and field.
Which, yeah, that I think that probably was the precursor to my Dance Dance Revolution days in college.
That was certainly a precursor to DDR.
Yeah.
Rob is useless. Never speak to me or my son again. Ben, it's impossible to use, Ben. I can't.
All things named Rob are no.
No.
Sorry, my ex-husband's name is Rob. That's the joke, everyone. It's not if your name is Rob, you're fine.
Yes.
Oh.
I think that pretty much covers the suggestions that we've seen. But there's lots of. I would love to see more robot games that are not straight up programming games, to explore that theme where you're not just programming the robot. Maybe building robots. I don't know. What else would you want? We've got ones where you're augmenting the robots for the mech games.
Gator Dave said, "Poor Rob Davio."
I know.
I didn't mean it, Rob. You're the Rob that I like. As I hold up Shipshape again.
But I think that's homework for next time is come up with some more cool mechanics that could be used with robots. Because I think there's a lot to explore there. And there's a lot of social deduction games where you're possibly a robot, and there's lots of programming games.
For sure.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Well, we have a little less than 10 minutes left until the end of the show, so we will head into our Q&A section. So if anyone in the chat... Yes, David Breel's Steam Park was mentioned. It's right here, in fact. Ta-da!
Ta-da!
But yes, if you all have any questions for Eric or myself or both of us, now is the time to drop those in the chat, and we will pick some to answer. I have to say, Eric, I've been very sad because we haven't had new Star Trek in a few weeks now, and
I know, we got really spoiled.
Very spoiled.
If it weren't for the fact that we've got WandaVision to sort of carry us over, but that will eventually end too. I'm not sure what appointment television I'm going to have after the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I have to admit, I've been enjoying having one or two appointment shows again, because for quite some time, like I cut the cord years ago, and really for the most part was either just watching stuff later, or like even with or binge watching everything. So yeah, with Star Trek and now WandaVision. Gosh, WandaVision is so good. Don't worry, chat. We will not discuss any spoilers for any of the shows that we're mentioning whatsoever, but oh my god, WandaVision.
So much fun. So much fun.
I am just blown away by how good that show is. Yeah, it is so intelligently crafted. Like the detail, oh my gosh. And
the parody elements are so great. Just so
very good.
And the way it's changed, it changes the way it's shot and edited and all of that. It's really cool. And it really bugs me that my kids bailed after 2 episodes.
Yeah, because those are the ones that they're going to be the least familiar with genre-wise.
Yeah. Well, they don't even have a reference to the 90s. Like, up until this point, they have no reference to the television elements of the show. So they tuned out pretty quickly on the I Love Lucy and I Dream of Jeannie? Yeah. Was it? Yeah, those are the primary models.
Yeah, obviously they're drawing from a bunch of different shows. Like there were elements of kind of like Dick Van Dyke and other things in the style as well. But but the stories are real. The story that they're telling is very interesting.
Yeah. Following up on the robot theme, what's your favorite robot in TV or movies?
I mean, if we're talking pure robot. The only one that comes to mind immediately is Data from Star Trek, because it's not just because it's Star Trek, but because Data is a fascinating character study into an android that envies humans and wants to experience the emotions that humans experience, and what that leads to in the storytelling about him is fascinating. Like, for those of you who are not familiar with Star Trek, there's an entire episode in Next Generation called Measure of a Man, where they actually have a trial to determine if Data is a person.
Yeah.
And it is a fascinating study into what it means to be human.
Yeah.
And it's really, really good, even if you're not a sci-fi fan.
Yeah. Gator Dave mentions probably one of the ones that was going to come to mind for me, Johnny Number 5. I loved the Short Circuit movies growing up, and just everything about them. I just like that. He sort of looks like Rob, actually. And I don't know if I have another one. Johnny Number 5. No
like
disassemble.
Kabuki Kid said R2D2, easy.
What's your favorite meal to make with leftovers?
Oh.
I'm very
I will
much.
admit, I'm not a fan of leftovers generally. Like, I'll eat them, but
As far as using something, like I love if I have leftovers from, the other half of my Thai food or something, but that's
Yeah.
not the same thing. I've been very big into fried rice lately.
I was thinking the same thing, like rice and that you can just throw into a pan and kind of scramble up with some new stuff.
Right. So I'll often, but the problem is we don't often have enough rice. I've made a batch of rice and then put it in the fridge for the purpose of making fried rice with other like vegetable leftovers and stuff like that. But that's worked out pretty well. The kids don't like it as much, but I think it's very useful. There were other
Everybody's
things
talking about their favorite robots still.
Yes. There were earlier ones that I know went by. Oh, somebody asked if I got an early copy of Red Rising. No, I did not. I know Stonemaier, for their very early reviews, like to handpick just a few people that are going to turn around reviews quickly. And so I am not one of those people. I tend to need more time to do stuff. Plus, that I also try and keep my voiceover work and review work separate. And so I did the voiceover for the trailer for Red Rising, and that's sort of a different relationship than reviewing games. So I don't try it. I try not to mix those too much. But thank you if you like that. Oh, watch Upload on Amazon Prime. It is actually quite good. I like it a lot.
I have not seen that.
It's about transferring consciousness to a virtual world. It's pretty cool.
That definitely sounds up my alley. I want to say somebody else recommended that to me. The Amazon like TV app is not one that I think to like go to when I'm just like looking for something. Like I tend to gravitate toward Netflix, Hulu, or HBO Max at this point. Like those are the kind of my go-tos. Which I don't. When is season 2 of Gentleman Jack coming to HBO Max? Because I desperately need more Gentleman Jack in my life. Please tell me somebody in the chat loves Gentleman Jack as much as I do. It's such a good show.
Yes. Oh, I was going to say about Upload. It is. I thought it was like a standalone, solid, a one-time short mini series. But it's actually a continuing series. It has a beginning, but it is not over at the end of the season 1.
Nice.
Which is good because it means there's more to come, but it means that you can't watch it all now. You're going to have to wait. Are we watching Resident Alien? I want to. That was one that I flagged as something I wanted to check out.
That's the Alan Tudyk one, right?
It is, and I love Alan Tudyk. And it seems like a really fun concept. He's like an alien who is pretending to be human, acting as sort of a detective in this small town. But I know nothing more than that, and it just looks fun. I just have not made time to watch the episodes. I should try and catch up and start recording them, I think.
Michael Klosser said, also, of course, the robot from Lost in Space. I that actually I have a tiny story that relates to that it cracks me up. So I love the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and I've been to live Shadowcast performances of it a lot of times in
Okay.
my life. And one of the things that happens when you watch Rocky Horror live with a Shadowcast is you shout things at the screen throughout the entire movie. And a lot of those lines are familiar ones that everyone yells together. But then what's really neat is every time you go, people will shout out unique or timely or pop culture references, like new things, and
Yep.
everybody laughs. There is one thing that I've always shouted every time I've gone that no one ever shouts with me, and it makes me sad every time. At the very, very end of the movie, the criminologist is like reading from the book, and he says, "Lost in time and lost in space." And I yell, "Danger, Will Robinson!" And no one else ever yells it. And I'm always just like, it's such an obvious one, people, come on.
But doesn't that mean you then get the laugh?
I mean, yes, usually I do get the laugh, but I'm just like shocked that that's not a common one anytime I go. It doesn't matter where I've been. But
Yep. Marvin the Paranoid Robot from Hitchhiker's Guide.
Dominique says, "Love your show. Thank you. Just saw a video of Tom and he had a top 10 book list. Do you all have a top 10 list of books?" I don't have a top 10 list of books.
Are they saying that there's a list of books, or is it a book in which he keeps his top 10 lists?
Oh.
A top 10 lists book.
Tom doesn't have that. There's no way.
I don't know. Maybe he's been journaling all these years.
I feel like we would know that if he had a book with all of the top 10 lists.
I write mine on little notes, and then when I'm done, they get recycled. I don't keep them.
Yeah, I don't often remember the things that I've discussed on shows very long after I've discussed them, which is why sometimes I'll suggest a topic and Eric will be like, "Yeah, we did that already."
Oh, it's a book. Coralu says it's a book that has ideas for top 10 lists.
Oh, yeah, no, we don't have that. We just, every 2 weeks, we go, "Hey, how about this? Or maybe this?" And we go, "Okay, sure, that."
Yes.
But we're not doing top 10 lists, so it's a little easier for us.
Yes. Occasionally we're like, we don't know what we're going to do, so we scroll up on our chat list and say, what ideas did we have a month ago that we want to do now?
Hornist, you do that? Hold on. Are you kidding me? That's amazing.
Oh, yeah, yelling that particular line?
That's spectacular. I've never found another person who yells that one.
So now you need to get together and go to a screening.
Yes. Rachel asked, "What happened to Sunday brunch?" So when the pandemic started and Tom started doing the daily chats here on the Dice Tower, my Sunday brunch got removed because there is already a live stream happening on the channel every day, and it hasn't been brought back, although I would love for it to be. So if you want to suggest that to Tom, you can email him, and he always takes suggestions via email. So if you want to see Board Game Brunch, my monthly Q&A, come back, shoot him an email, tom@dicetower.com, and let him know that you miss it, because I miss it. I loved sitting around on Sunday mornings having breakfast and chatting with you all.
If you were to make a board game into a musical, which game would it be, and what already existing song would be your pinnacle standing ovation track? That requires more thought than I think I'm able to do at this particular point in the evening.
Right. Like this is a question that I would not want to give a half-hearted answer to.
I mean, as far as picking a game, I would want something that has characters in it. And there is actually Clue the Musical, which Kirk has mentioned. My mother was in Clue the Musical. She played Miss Scarlet in a production up in Maine, which
That's
I never
awesome.
got to see, but she was in it. It's not based on the movie. It's just based on the board game. Ah, boy.
I don't think Battlestar Galactica the musical would be good.
That would be. It would be something.
The title song would be called "So Say We All." So like that.
Yeah, but
Big Splendor.
Hey, Big
Hey,
Splendor.
Big Splendor. Spend a little jewels on me.
I think that's where we end it. Hey, Big Splendor.
That's the end right there.
Oh my goodness. Ambi says she's already made her answer. It's already done.
I mean, that's true. Ambi did, y'all, if you do not know, Ambi wrote and performed an entire musical about 18XX board games. I am not kidding. You should head over to her YouTube channel and check it out because it's spectacular. Ambi is just super talented in general. But yes, a Big Splendor is where we will end things tonight. Chat, if you all could do me a favor, I can see some of you already did. Click that little thumbs up button below the video to let the YouTube algorithms know that you enjoyed the show and that maybe your friends would too. And they can join us live next time, which will be 2 weeks from tonight. Dear God, that's March.
Oh, wow. Really?
Oh, it's March 3rd. It's when Dice Tower West would have been.
Oh, yeah, we're hitting those things. The cruise dates just went by. We sort of looked at the weekend and said, wait, it was school break. We were going to have the kids and us on the ship, and that's when it was going to be. So we're starting to hit those dates that would have been things.
So we will be back on March 3rd. We would have been at Dice Tower West, but truthfully, if we can't be there, I'm happy to be here on the internet with you, Eric, and with the chat, because I really do love this show. It's so much fun. I appreciate you all participating in our games and dealing with our silliness and contributing to our conversations. So join us again on March 3rd at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And until then, I'm Crystal Dax.
I'm Eric Summerer.
You've been watching Dice Tower Tonight.
Thank you for watching. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. Crystal and I will see you in 2 weeks for another installment. Our show is supported by viewers like you. Thank you. Dice Tower Tonight is produced by Crystal and me with assistance from Tom Vassell, Mike DeLisio, Roy Cannaday, Chris Yee, and Rob Searing. Our scuba diving barbershop quartet provided by Underwater Ditties. Timothy Pinkham composed our theme, and hosting is provided by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games at great prices at CoolStuffInc.com. Give us your feedback on the Dice Tower Guild at Board Game Geek on Facebook or Twitter, or by emailing us at crystal@dicetower.com or eric@dicetower.com. And don't forget to visit the other shows in the Dice Tower Network. Find something new at dicetowernetwork.com. Until next time, from all of us at the Dice Tower, have fun gaming.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.